This is Brand Rescue, a marketing and PR podcast for businesses who want the real deal, not trendy fluff or complicated funnels. From PR to paid ads, we share free advice that actually works because mediocre marketing is so last season. If you're ready, your marketing comeback starts right now. Hey everybody, welcome back to Whitney's personal therapy session. Just kidding. I love these solo episodes because I always start off saying like, this is probably going to be a quick one, right? Like I'm going to give some info and then it's going to be over. And sometimes I'm like, man, maybe I should even beef it up a little more because it's going to be so short. And then I blink my eyes and I've literally yapped for 32 minutes. So, I have a way of doing that, but I appreciate y'all tuning in. And actually I had somebody DM me and ask me if I plan out what I'm going to talk about. Yes and no. For both solos and interviews, yes and no. So for example, with this, I see what's happening in my agency. So for anybody listening that maybe is new, I own a public relations agency. We call ourselves a modern PR agency because we are definitely not just the PR company that helps get you on the news, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But a lot of stuff comes up in conversation with our clients and our team and also just the general industry. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a podcast episode. So I have this like running list of things that have happened or have pissed me off or whatever the case may be. And I just pick one from the list. And then from there, I do not script what I'm going to say. And sometimes I have to remind myself that there are hundreds of thousands of people hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands. The podcast isn't that big. But there are hundreds of people that listen to this. And I look at the download sometimes and I'm like, whoa, okay. Because when I'm recording it, I'm sitting in my home office, chilling in my yoga pants. And sometimes you forget what you're saying on the mic is going to go out to thousands of people. But I really enjoy it. And I am thankful for y'all for tuning in, and always giving me your feedback and everything. So same thing with our interviews. We don't script them at all. The moment I invite someone to be on the show or I get their application and I reach out to them, one of the first things they say is like, oh, what are you going to ask me? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't pre-plan questions or anything of that nature. And I wonder if that comes through on y'all's end. But I always say I want it to be really authentic. So I do ask the person, like in an interview situation, like, hey, what's happening in your business right now or in your specific niche or whatever that's like a hot topic, or maybe it's something that's changing, or maybe it's something that's new and nobody knows how to deal with it, or maybe you have a hot take and everybody else thinks this but you disagree, and usually then the guest is like, oh my God, I know what we need to talk about. So we pick a topic, but we do not script anything out. So I'd be interested to know, and y'all hit me up. If you want to DM me on Instagram, it's the Whitney Lee, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you're more of the LinkedIn type, it's Whitney Lee. I'd be interested to know if y'all caught that. Like, does it feel that way to you? So let me know. Today's podcast is actually the topic, two things that every business needs in order to survive. May be a little contradictory because you guys know that I preach that blanket advice is garbage, blanket marketing and PR advice that's like, literally, this works for every single business on the planet is garbage, because you have to take the framework and then be really creative to come up with the actual tactics. You know what I mean? But I will say this, the way I'm framing this, you guys are going to get it here in just a second. So follow me, the two things that every business needs, okay? Where this came from, I am constantly having to explain to people what PR is and what it isn't. Even people that have worked in the industry, it's so interesting to maybe not the PR industry, but like the adjacent industry, right? Like they're in marketing, they're in business development or something like that. It's so interesting how everybody thinks or what they think PR is, what PR is not is Samantha on Sex and the City. I mean, I'm sure she, she had her thing, but, people see that, or like Emily in Paris, and it's just like, we just go to parties and like think of fun ideas, and then we launch it on TikTok, and millions of people show up, and the end, and then we're all just having martinis and petting puppies. Like, that ain't it. Okay, that ain't it. That would be awesome if it was, because I would thrive. However, I'm constantly explaining to people what PR is and what it is not. First and foremost, people always think it's like sales, or they think it is party planning. Or one of the first things they say to me when I say I work in PR, they say, "Oh, okay, so you like help get me on the morning show?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe." I mean, that's like the tiniest ounce of what we do. We are not just morning show solicitors, and we are not party planners, okay? Um, so I always say that's a tiny bit of what we do. And the only way I'm going to pitch you to be on a morning show is if your audience is boomers, because ain't no millennials or Gen Zers, or even most Gen Xers are not watching the morning show. So anyway, I digress. Anytime somebody comes to work with us, when I get on a call with them, one of the first things I always say is, okay, let's say we're 6 months down the road. And what would, when someone came to you and said, "Hey, so you worked with True Story and Whitney and her team, what would, how did that go?" And if your response was like, "Oh my God, this is the best investment I've ever made. This was amazing. I'm so glad we did this. I'm so grateful I found Whitney in them, blah, blah, blah." What would make you say that? What would make you walk away from this relationship in 6 months and be like, "Oh my God, every penny was well spent on that team"? And if their response is like, "Our sales went up," then I'm like, "Yep, this is a bad idea. You are officially no longer a good potential client. You have skewed visions of what PR is." I mean, I don't say that, but in my head, I'm immediately like, I put them in a box. It's literally almost like you're talking with a guy, you're texting, and within like 5 minutes, he's like, "I'm trying to sleep with you." And you're like, "Wait a minute. Uh, but, uh, okay. Yeah. Like, yeah. You just jumped the gun, bro. And I'm not interested anymore, So, or maybe you are. Anyway, that's for a different podcast. Um, so you see what my life is like, Avi. 39-year-old single woman. Yeah. Anyway, so what would make this a win for you? And if their answer is sales, 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 then it's wrong. So I will say this. One thing that I do think is one of my strongest qualities is taking things and simplifying it so much to where people can easily understand it. Right? Complex things, or maybe, or position it to them in a way where suddenly it makes sense to them. Maybe they understood it at some level before, but all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, that actually makes total sense. So when I started to explain to people what we do, I would boil it down to this. I would say, we help brands have strategy. We help brands have a strategy for two things. Number one, being found. Like, how are you getting discovered? Because if your brand isn't getting discovered by new people constantly, eventually you will die off. Eventually, you can just keep selling to the same people over and over again, but eventually your business will collapse. It will dwindle. Yeah. So you've got to have a strategy for, number one, how to get discovered constantly by new people, getting new eyeballs, and not just any eyeballs, but the right eyeballs on your business. Okay. That's number one. Next, we help brands never be forgotten. What do you mean, Whitney? I love alliteration, right? Found and never forgotten. But never forgotten. So keeping your brand visible, relevant, staying in front of the people that already know and love you, because the honest truth is, if you don't, they will forget about you. And it's really not even because they want to forget about you. It's because they're getting pulled in 600 directions. They've got media coming at them from every angle, whether it's Sirius radio or social media or billboards or email blasts or text messages. Your competitor is coming after them. So if you don't stay in front of them and you don't have a strategy to be consistent, then eventually they're going to get snatched up by someone else, or they're just going to get curious because people love to try new things, right? If you're a restaurant and you've had the same menu items for the last 30 years, they may still love you, but they're going to just come less often probably because they're like, same thing. I can always have that. I can always get that. There's never anything new there. I'm in the mood for something new, right? So that I have boiled it down to like, that is what we do in PR. We help brands be found and never forgotten, right? I always give this analogy of like a gumball machine. Like there can be this amazing, beautiful, perfect, shiny and new gumball machine filled to the top with delicious, sugary gumballs, okay? And it can be sitting somewhere in a mall, in an office, in a building. And if it's sitting in a corner somewhere and no one knows that it's there, no one's ever going to come put a coin in it, right? So think about the coin, the little thing you drop the coin in and you twist, 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 and then the gumball pops out, right? The coin mechanism is your actual marketing, right? But what your PR is doing is running around the mall, grabbing eyeballs saying, did you know that there's a gumball machine in the corner over there? Or setting up signage or setting up a partnership with a candy store that says, visit our gumball down at the, you know what I mean? So your PR team is the one that helps people realize, oh, wow, there's a new gumball machine over there in the corner. I need to go check that out. Then they come over, they put the coin in, they twist, and that's when your marketing machine starts to happen, right? So PR, that is their piece of the pie. PR is just the visibility, the grabbing the eyeballs, the awareness, the getting people interested and excited about, well, why should I walk all the way down there to that other corner with the gumball? Well, it's because these gumballs are different than the gumballs in the food court. These gumballs are shiny or bigger, or they keep their flavor for longer. I'm so reaching with this whole analogy, but I love it. So think about a gumball machine. Your PR team is the one who's got to get everybody to realize that the machine is down there. It's down there in the corner and it's ready and it's waiting for you, and it's better than all the other gumball machines. So love these analogies, right? Love it. I just had a venti cold brew from Starbucks and it is hitting. All right. So, that is the core of what PR does. And PR is not the one that closes the deal, right? PR brings them in. And that's why we measure PR on, how many, getting new people to your website, getting new email addresses. So we bring people in, tantalize them. I don't even think that's correct context. Whatever. We put out tantalizing information that gets them excited and interested and brings them in. And then we pass them off to the marketing machine and they nurture them, they sell them, they close the deal, right? We are top of funnel as PR people. So that's the two things that every business needs. If you really think about it at the core, that is what every business needs. You got to have a strategy for being found consistently, and B, a strategy for never being forgotten, because there's competition. There's distractions at every angle. There's new businesses every single day, found and never forgotten. So let me give you some quick examples of some ideas. So ideas for being found, right? Number one, making sure your website is set up correctly. We'll probably do a whole episode on that. We're not even going to go down that like techie route right now, but making sure your website can even be freaking seen by Google and the LLMs, like that is step one. But think about like influencer campaigns. They help get eyeballs. Their followers maybe some of them have never heard about you, or awards campaigns. You get an award for, I don't know, best chiropractor. And then that media company that gave you the award blasts it out, or maybe they host an event where you get to come up on stage and get an award. Like that's visibility. There's going to be people that see that announcement or see you at that event that have never heard about you, right? Partnerships, somebody who's trying to reach the same audience as you. Okay. We'll talk more about that in a second, but getting in partnership with other brands that share your avatar, right? I see like gosh, I can't remember if it was Lululemon that does the pop-up yoga shop, pop-up yoga classes, but they do them at all these, like, fun, trendy, like, boutiques or, at the lawn of a shopping center or things like that because they know their audience is also going those places, right? They do them at restaurants, all the things. Hosting events, maybe it's like doing your own event and maybe somebody would have never come into your art gallery before, but you do a special wine tasting and they love wine or their partner loves wine or their girlfriend, their girlfriend group was like, "Oh my god, let's go to this wine tasting." And suddenly you get a new person in your art gallery that would have never walked in the door from the beginning, right? And they're like, "Oh my god, look at this person's art." Maybe it's participating in events. Maybe you get your chef in a cook-off and, everybody gets to taste at the event and they're like, "Oh my god, this chef made the best mac and cheese I've ever had." Having your booth set up where people can enter to win a gift card and then they get on your email list. God, I'm such a psycho about emails. So participating in events is a great way to be found by new people. Social media, okay? Also, advertising. Hey, you know what? You gotta advertise. And w again, we're talking about organic strategies, but advertising, yes, is an incredible way to prospect new people. So those are some ideas for being found. What's interesting is, let's talk about being never forgotten. A lot of these strategies under found, these tactics, are also really useful in being never forgotten. So influencer campaigns, staying in front of people. Again, maybe some of that and those influencers maybe some of their following already knows who you are. But again, you're launching a new menu and the influencer came in and then they're like, "Oh, okay, they got a new cocktail menu for the spring." That gets them back in front. So an influencer campaign can kind of go both ways, found and never forgotten. Awards, maybe they haven't, they forgot about you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they won best chiropractor. I used to go to them." You know, or I used to know her when she worked at a different practice. I didn't know she had launched her own practice or whatever. Staying in front of them, right? Same with events and, hosting and participating. It's giving people a reason to come back into your art gallery or try your mac and cheese again to be like, "Oh my God, I forgot how freaking delicious the mac and cheese was," right? So a lot of those strategies underneath found also work for never forgotten. I think you've got to change the messaging though, right? But there are other things. So like text campaigns. Once you that's a great way to stay in front of people, texting and email, right? If somebody likes you enough to give you their phone number and their email and or their email, they like you. Okay. And they want to hear from you. All these brands that are like, "Well, I'm just like afraid that if I send out too many emails, then they're going to unsubscribe." And I'm like, okay, look, 14 emails a day, that is too much. I probably wouldn't even go one email a day, but oh God, there are some brands that hit me every day. Ulta, you be hitting me every day. It's kind of too much. But I do open it depending on what the subject line is. That's another episode also. But text campaigns and email blasts are a great way to stay in front of them. It's all about, never forgotten, is all about how to stay relevant so you're not getting stale. I already mentioned the idea like, "Oh, they've got a new cocktail menu that's coming out." Or, look at the Dove campaign. Okay, that's the Dove campaign is such it's a Bridgerton partnership. Such a good example of partnership and also just staying relevant so people don't forget about them, right? We know Dove is trying to hit women, right? They are targeting women. And what do women watch? Bridgerton. So they came out with this whole line about like the Bridgerton, I don't know if it's body wash, I don't know, but I just saw it when I was watching Bridgerton recently. So, that's a great example of staying relevant and staying in front of people. And also media campaigns too, like not just pitching what you have going on. "Hey, do you guys want to run a story on, our chef because she's a female and March is Women's History Month?" Okay, that actually is a pretty good angle, but I think you can also get creative too with like what's happening in the world right now. I'll give you an example. Um, this has been literally a decade ago, probably. Remember the whole Rihanna and Chris Brown thing? I think I've already shared this example one time. If you've been listening to this show that long, then I appreciate you. And you can hit the fast forward for about 15 seconds because you've already heard this example. But I think I shared this like literally like 2 or 3 years ago. Remember the whole Rihanna, Chris Brown drama? He assaulted her, gave her a black eye, all this. I honestly can't remember all of it, so I don't want to like say incorrect information. Something in that vein happened, and one of my clients was a domestic violence center. So you know what was really relevant and timely? To call up the news station and say, oh, with everything that's happening in light of Chris Brown and Rihanna and all these accusations, like my client here, the director, is an expert on what we see locally. So she's working, daily in helping women that are locally facing these kind of things. And she can really, because this is not just Hollywood, right? This is happening on our doorstep. So I think it's really relevant to have her maybe come on or be interviewed to discuss, what domestic violence looks like right here in our backyard and how people can help. Right. And the news was like, heck yes. They like to have an expert when something, but you got to move fast. Right. So that's a great way of, never being forgotten. It's like offering up that expertise or a comment when some kind of situation happens. That's the scoop, y'all. Being found and never forgotten. It's the 1-2 punch. And every business has really got to, if when things get overwhelming, it's a simplified way to think about what are our strategies, A, for new eyeballs, and B, staying top of mind and staying relevant to the people that already know and love us. So I hope y'all enjoy this episode. Thanks for listening to me rant. We kept it under 30 minutes. Would love to hear y'all's thoughts. If you got a topic or maybe some kind of situation you've dealt with in your business. Somebody mentioned they wanted to do like a live, I guess you would call it like a live consulting almost, like have somebody from a business come on of like, this is the challenge we're facing. Help give me your advice. That would actually be so fun. So if you have any thoughts, or maybe that's you and you're like, God, I need some help, or maybe just submit what's happening in your business and I can give you a shout out and give you some thoughts and advice. Hey, free advice, y'all. I love podcasting. Not just for me. I'm a junkie. I listen to all kinds of podcasts. So I appreciate you listening to this one and also always sharing your feedback with me. So as always, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, Whitney Lee, or Instagram. It's the Whitney Lee. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you on the next episode. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to Brand Rescue. For more practical marketing and PR support, head to yourmarketingheroes.com.